Hello, and welcome to this special edition of the North Andover Journal. Hi, my name is Yefim Schneiderman, host of this special episode of the North Andover Journal. Today's edition is all about the recent town meeting on Tuesday, May 16th, 2017. The meeting ran for about 3 hours, but we've cut it down to just the hot topic items just for you. Let's take a look.
Please tell us your name and address.
My name is Nicholas Martone. I live at 20 Bixby Street, North Andover, Mass. I move the article as printed in the warrant and displayed on the screen.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say
Please.
a few words. Good evening. My name is Nicholas Martone. I've been proud to call North Andover my home for the past several years. My family and I are active members of the community, as well as St. Michael's Parish. Becoming a firefighter has always been a dream of mine, and I would appreciate your support this evening in allowing me to have the opportunity to become one. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Do you understand what we're voting on? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. We consider it a unanimous vote. Any objection in the other room? No. Thank you very much. Welcome, sir.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Adam Stagno. I live at 14 Edmonds Road.
And do you have a motion, sir?
Yes, I would like to move Article Number 7 as printed on the warrant and displayed on the screen.
The motion is made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, my name is Jonathan Adam Stagno. I go by Adam. I am a communications officer for this town of North Andover. I lived here for the past 10 years with my family. Right now, I'm 35 years old. And to be a police officer, you need to be 32 or under the age of 32 to be considered for an officer. So I would like to put a formal request to have my age be waived for this time so I can potentially be considered to be offered a police officer position. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And you'll forgive me, I am texting to the deputy moderator just so we can all stay on the same page. Is there any discussion of the gentleman's motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It is a unanimous vote. Thank you very, very much.
Gene Sarganese, 105 Bonnie Lane. I would like to move Article 8 as amended and displayed on the screen.
The motion is made. Is there a second? The motion is made and seconded. Would the gentleman care to discuss the article?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
you.
Just a few words. The article before you is a request for support from North Andover to remove big money from politics. This impacts really both sides of the aisle and impacts everyone in politics. I'm not asking you to approve any specific legislation, but I'm really asking for North Andover to stand behind some principles and ask our representatives, both state and federal, to push forward along the lines of attempting to remove big money from politics. If you'll let me explain on the chart that's above very, very quickly, this is the job description of many of our representatives who spend between 30 and 70% of their time really raising money to be elected, and it is necessary. 91% of the time, the one with the most money gets elected, and that certainly makes the money aspect of it incredibly important. It's also important to recognize that 2/3 of the money that is contributed is actually only contributed by 0.2% of the American population. And in reality, that does buy and creates a bias in our political system. So, we really need to do something about this. If you go to the next page, please. And the actual fact is this corruption or the movement of money for favor is actually legal in our political system in the United States. And unfortunately, it favors the few instead of the many. So if you go to the next page, well, stay on this page, please. You got a little bit ahead of me, but that's just fine. What does corruption look like? If you look at this page, it represents a cycle that's inherent in the political system that we have today. There are special interests, and it's perfectly reasonable, and I shouldn't say reasonable, but perfectly legal for them to fund lobbyists. Those lobbyists, in turn, fund campaigns, they draft legislation, they lobby, they provide jobs for politicians who leave office, and in turn, laws are passed. Quite often those laws favor the lobbyist and in turn the special interest. And again, this concept of money, sort of follow the money, it does lead to some favoritism and certainly some benefits to those who are providing it. Next slide, please. The concept really is to ask our politicians to help us pass laws which essentially would make this type of corruption illegal. If you go to the next page, please. These are the principles that I'm asking for the town to embrace. A yes vote would indicate that you support the removal of corruption in the form of big money. And these 6 points. So if you lobby, fine. If you donate, fine. But you really shouldn't lobby and donate. Politicians really shouldn't take money from industries they regulate. It just isn't proper. This concept of a revolving door, you have employment after your political office on lobbying firms. It's just not right. Enable publicly funded elections, really do take the money factor out, level the playing field, and allow people's positions, thoughts, and to guide how we vote. Money shouldn't be secret, it should be above board, and really super PACs should have some level of limitations on them. There are 20 other communities across Massachusetts that have adopted this resolution. Again, it's non-binding. It's not about a particular law. We're simply asking our representatives to embrace these concepts. Andover is one of those towns, Marblehead is another, and there's 9 additional towns considering it as a part of their 2010 town meeting. Thank you for listening.
You're very welcome. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Moderator, Wendy Wakeman, 140 Academy Road.
Welcome.
Briefly, I'm not going to try to pick apart the good gentleman's argument, although I certainly could. I will instead offer first that we've considered this in past town meetings and it has gone down resoundingly, and that second, I encourage my fellow town meeting members to vote no, because I don't believe this is, I think we have plenty of stuff to talk about that concerns North Andover very directly, and I would much rather address those issues than spend our time, 5 minutes of my time, on this, which is not a town issue.
All those in favor of the gentleman's motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. I think we're going to need a hand count on this one. Now, Section 9.
Section 9 is 11.
And Section 10? Hold on. He's doing double duty.
Section 10 is 5.
Is 5. So the vote in favor was 523. The vote against, is 180. So the motion carries.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we adopt Article 12 as printed in the warrant and is displayed on the screen.
Second.
The motion is made and seconded. Could we have some discussion about what Article 12 is about?
Mr. Moderator, members of the town meeting, I'm Andrew Maylor, town manager for the town of North Andover. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, we're requesting a zoning bylaw be amended to place a moratorium on locating recreational marijuana establishments and retailers in the town of North Andover until June 30th, 2018. The moratorium will allow the town sufficient time to consider creating zoning bylaws regulating the location and citing criteria of recreational marijuana establishments and retailers. It is anticipated the town will repeal the temporary moratorium during the next annual town meeting in 2018 and replace it with an applicable zoning bylaw. As an identical process was followed in 2013 when the town enacted a temporary moratorium on medical marijuana dispensaries and placed it with a zoning bylaw 1 year later.
So we've heard an explanation from the town manager. Is there any discussion or queries that anyone has? Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Eitan Goldberg, 57 Glenwood Street.
Welcome.
Thank you. In support of the moratorium, I think it's a good idea, well written. So I would move to amend it to November 30th of 2018, the moratorium.
So you'd like to change the date to
November 30th?
November 30th of what year?
2018.
Of 2018. The gentleman's made a motion. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of extending the gentleman's timeline as suggested to November of 2018, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it in this room. Maria, if you can report back. Okay, I think we're covered. We'll declare it a majority vote, and the motion has been amended. And now we're moving back to the specific question around the moratorium. Is there, sir?
Michael Liss, 30 Leanne Drive. Forgive my ignorance here, but I don't quite understand what is the implication if this article fails. What happens to the zoning laws? I guess immediately or at some point in the future, near future.
We'll see if somebody can answer that question.
So without action as it relates to a moratorium, and should recall as it relates to this bylaw, it's specific to recreational marijuana. So that at this point, the expectation is that the state will roll out regulations sometime during the month of March. Currently, there are no regulations, and there is no process to be licensed to sell or otherwise participate in the recreational marijuana industry or business. If for some reason those regulations get rolled out and they start issuing licenses, then there's a questions get raised as to what the town's role would be. We have no zoning in place for recreational marijuana. We have no rules and regulations for recreational marijuana. And therefore, it's that uncertainty of what happens after the Commonwealth issues its regulations and starts issuing licenses that is causing us to request that there be a moratorium until we have time to evaluate those regulations when they come out in March and what the processes will be, and therefore, with the help of the planning board and other policy leaders, come up with a plan to make sure that we can advise town meeting on the options associated with locating recreational marijuana facilities in the community.
This needs a 2/3 vote. We'll try it by voice vote first. All those in favor of the motion as amended, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. It's clear to me that we have a 2/3 vote unless the overflow room is differently. Are we good to go? A little lag in communication. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
All no's in the overflow room.
All no's. With a sufficient, what's the number? Okay. No. All right. We know what the numbers are, so I declare it a 2/3 vote and the moratorium passes.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I move to adopt the warrant article number 9 as amended and displayed on the screen.
The motion is made and seconded.
My name is Tom Lee. I live at 96 Woodcrest Drive, and I filed the citizen petitions for warrants 9 and 11. I'm a senior partner at Agency 451 in Boston, and I'm a paid representative of the owners of 1600 Osgood Street. With that said, I would not be standing up here in front of you tonight if I wasn't 100% convinced that this project, these warrant article support, was being developed in good faith by people who have the best interest of our town at heart. The Osgood Landing Biotechnology Campus will be a world-class cannabis research and development center cultivating cannabis for medical use, medical and regulatory R&D and manufacturing. Now, before I continue, I want to be crystal clear so there is no confusion. The owners of 1600 Osgood Street are not going to sell marijuana in North Andover. The owners have zero interest in opening a marijuana dispensary in our town. This is a critical point that is clearly addressed in Warrant Article 9. This project is not being developed by some speculator from Boston or New York looking to come to North Andover to break into the marijuana gold rush. The Osgood Landing Biotechnology Campus is the vision of a renowned radiation oncologist and North Andover resident, Jeff Goldstein. We, as a community, have a unique opportunity here to allow the owners of this landmark property to pursue a development that would rival biotechnology centers like Kendall Square in Cambridge. It is an opportunity that could change the economic future of our town for generations to come. So what exactly are we being asked to vote on tonight? Warrant Articles 9 and 11 will amend North Andover's existing medical marijuana overlay district, which currently sits adjacent to the property on Holt Road. These amendments would allow the cultivation of cannabis at 1600 Osgood Street while ensuring the facility will not serve as a dispensary. Place your trust in the Board of Selectmen, a board that we elected to represent our best interests. Allow them to properly vet this project and ensure that the project meets our own regulatory and economic standards. Allow our town manager and Board of Selectmen to negotiate a host community agreement that's in the best interest and benefit to our town. Give Dr. Goldstein the opportunity to pursue the possibility of returning 1600 Osgood Street to its former glory as a world-class manufacturing and research facility, a facility that we can all be proud of again, the economic driver that this town has been missing for over a decade.
Thank you.
The reason the planning board is opposed to this is multifaceted, and I'm going to mention a few of those items. First of all, the articles are still in flux. The language is changing as of today. Very difficult to make an informed decision when things are moving around so much, and I'll come back to that and talk about some of the implications. A second point I want to raise is that this article, though positioned as only dealing with medical marijuana, will not prohibit the production and cultivation of marijuana for recreational purposes. It's an important point. Another consideration is that our existing bylaw allowed for a manufacturing facility, a cultivation facility of marijuana of 20,000 square feet. This proposal is for 1 million square feet, a 50 times increase. This will make this the largest marijuana cultivation facility in the world. One of the big problems related to marijuana cultivation is related to odors. And I'll just read something that comes from Marijuana Business Daily. It says, odors from cultivation facilities are becoming an increasingly contentious issue between cannabis growers, the municipalities they call home, and residents who live nearby. And if you study the literature, you'd find in every state where cultivation has become legal, there are these types of problems. We want to study this a little bit more. We want to research this a little bit more. It's not ready yet. We're concerned about the consequences. For the people who were here during the time when the GLSD was put in place, there were smell problems for 15 years. We want to try to avoid that in this case.
So first, let me say it was not a unanimous vote by the Board of Selectmen. It was a split vote, 3-2. I was one of the dissenting, and I'd like to just state my position why. Mr. Simons has already said many of my same concerns, so I won't be redundant and repeat what he said, is that this article has not been through the due diligence it requires. And again, I don't mean to repeat what Mr. Simons said, so I'll try to be brief. The due diligence required to get through the planning process and the planning board process. Such things as hiring a peer review to understand what the effects are and what the ramifications are of a facility that size in this town would be.
I am also the other no vote, and as my previous speakers addressed, my feelings are pretty much in sync with theirs. A couple of things that were particularly troubling. Once this passes for a state-of-the-art medical marijuana facility, they, within a short period of time, go right to go, and they could be actually a recreational facility. We really don't know what percentage is really going to be medical marijuana research and development. The federal government, actually, there's talk that in order to get research and development, they need a special permit. Right now, it is against federal law. There's so many things that need to be addressed. There is no reason to rush through this.
I voted favorable action on this article. I did so because I would like to see a biopharma research center on this site. I think that's a great vision. I completely respect and understand the position of the chairman of the planning board and my colleagues regarding the need to do due diligence on this process. But I believe that can be done through the special permit granting process. And if I read of the existing medical marijuana overlay bylaw, it states that the special permit granting authority shall impose conditions reasonably appropriate to improve the site design, traffic flow, public safety, protect water quality, protect air quality, and significant environmental resources, preserve the character of the surrounding area, and otherwise, et cetera. So I believe that there is time to do all of the due diligence that my colleagues suggest need to be done, and I agree need to be done. And I believe what we're voting on tonight is the ability for the applicant to enter into the process.
I also voted to support this article. I was not somebody who was going to vote yes when this initial article was presented to us by the applicant, and they came before us at our prior meeting and heard from us what our concerns were, that the process that they were presenting was one that I think would be far from clear, and I think our town's legal counsel expressed concerns about what the unintended consequences would be. They came to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen expressed, I think, a collective reservation about different pieces, and they came to us this evening with the amended article, which I think directly impacts what they want impacted, which is the ability to have a larger facility and the ability to grow the zone to their adjacent property because they are currently located right in the general vicinity. And so based on that adjustment and the fact that I think that there remains so many opportunities for review in this process, and there remains so many opportunities for us as a town government as well as the state to weigh in and ensure that every reasonable step is followed, I voted in favor of this.
In favor for favorable action on this, and as Selectman Keene and DeCologero have stated, I'm absolutely in tune with where they're coming from. This is a beginning of a process, and I have faith in the process and the steps involved here, and most simply, I want the discussion to be educated, and I think there's been a lot of work and response on that. And to me, it really comes down to this. We're not approving a business tonight. We're not approving them to do anything but to show up at the ballpark, to get dressed for the game.
And as I always promise before I speak, I will be short, and as you suggested, also be brief.
Thank you.
But this year, there's a $500 million shortfall. So I worry about the income that's going to come to our town. Secondly, there's a health care proposal that, God forbid, it passes. That means $1 billion a year to the state of Massachusetts. If you don't think that's going to impact the town of North Andover and its finances, then you're sadly mistaken. So what about this project? So the issue is due diligence and making sure that it's done correctly. Well, I was a selectman when we did the first overlay, the 40-hour overlay, and for a dozen years, these owners have been attempting to bring in businesses to fill out this business. Now, if you look at that building in the front, it looks like a beautiful office building, but that's not the piece that we have a problem with. It's that cavernous part in the middle, that 1 million+ square feet of empty space. It's manufacturing. We are not going to fill that with a dozen or 15 or 20 different businesses. It is manufacturing. And unfortunately, manufacturing in Massachusetts, manufacturing in New England is gone. It's gone away. It's overseas. This is a unique property. This fits the bill.
Can you imagine if you take a chance on an investment in a town like North Andover with 1 million square feet to fill, and it's been so long and you haven't had a chance to do it, to fill it and to make it economically viable?
I also own a business in this town, and it concerns me to see the economic impact of losing so many jobs. And I wonder how many people in the room actually know that North Andover lost more jobs in the late 90s and early 2000s than any other community in the state of Massachusetts, including all the cities across the state. That's a pretty big gap to fill when it comes to economic development.
Water. We do not know how much water this facility will use. The applicant on his website and before the planning board estimated a maximum rate of 180,000 gallons per day. It's an example where we have not had an opportunity to do due diligence on the potential impact of a town that has a sole water supply in the lake. And the last point is this. We've heard that this is just the beginning of the game. It's just the start of the process. I am a member of the planning board, and I would caution the town tonight that the planning board most likely does not have the ability to say no if the due diligence turns out to have significant impacts on the town. The best the planning board could do would be to attempt to assign conditions. So in a very real respect, this vote tonight has significant impact with only a limited process to follow.
Any town could use this money.
No.
But you need to consider the long-term unintended consequences. No. Do we want our town to be known for pot growing? I think we would lose our identity as having a rich history, strong community values, and great schooling in a place where you just want to raise a family. By approving this zoning and the facility, pot will then become the bedrock of who we are and where our kids grow up. We are not okay with that. Don't be fooled by the doctor tag or the dollar signs. This is a business. It's not even manufacturing, it's horticulture. This is a business venture looking to make money. Let's keep our children's future at the forefront of our decision making.
The medical, and this is important to know because it hasn't been said tonight, the medical marijuana law, it's completely vertically integrated. You have to grow it, you have to process it, you have to cultivate it, and you can sell it. You do not have the ability to sell it to other dispensaries. So any medical marijuana dispensary, and the applicant has applied for 3 dispensaries. He applied for one with the Department of Public Health back in March. They know this. They don't need that much space. They could easily supply 3 dispensaries with maybe 50 to 60,000 square feet of cultivation space. So I think you got to ask, what's the real play? What's the long-term play here? Do they want to do this biopharma R&D, which sounds great, but there's no license for that. You can't just go down and get a biopharma license. It doesn't exist. You can't just open a business and start doing research on marijuana. It's just not, there's no legal basis for it. So what are they trying to do? The long-term play, is it to become a recreational wholesaler? That's possible, and you know, I think the jury's out on that. I don't have a strong opinion on whether we should be having that kind of recreational distribution level. But they should be honest about that, and they haven't been. And that's my biggest beef with this whole thing coming forward so fast. Look at the article up there. Look at all the crossouts. This just got to the Board of Selectmen yesterday at 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock yesterday.
Go ahead.
You also said that during your due diligence, you read a magazine.
Speak through me, sir.
During the due diligence, members of the board read a magazine that said that marijuana had a pungent smell. And I did some due diligence when I was about 17, and I do recall a pungent smell. And it brings the question of air quality. You would wonder, we're going to have 1 million square feet of marijuana growing. Could the engineer speak to the air quality issue and the smell? And
we've really made advancements in odor control, and this type of facility is going to be used recirculated purified air in each cell, and it's going to be controlled for mold and odor. So I really, in my professional opinion, I don't think odor is an issue. I've dealt with big farm labs in downtown Cambridge and MIT that have far more pungent smells than marijuana. And by the way, it's not going to be smoked. It's going to be processed. So it's the background smell of marijuana, and we will put odor control on the facility.
I want to thank you for a wonderfully respectful and even enlightening conversation. You all deserve a hand, and thank you for your patience. I hoped to do this in an hour, but it took us an hour and a half, but that's quite all right. I suspect that this will not pass on a voice vote, so we're going to move directly to a hand count. 6, thank you. Section 9.
Section 9 is 40.
40, section 10.
Section 10 is 34.
34. Ladies and gentlemen, the motion fails, not having received the 2/3 vote.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
As a result of the last vote, I would like to move to withdraw Article number 11.
The motion is made to withdraw. Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, the article is withdrawn.
Thanks for watching this special edition of the North Andover Journal. If you want to check out more of the town meeting, you can see it on our GovCam channel or on our YouTube channel. I'm Yefim Schneiderman. Thanks for watching.